All right, good morning, everyone. How we good on volume over there? Everyone can hear? All right, good to go. All right. Thanks, everyone. Welcome to the talk today on Automation Unveiled, a strategic guide to shipping and receiving automation, risk mitigation, and productivity gains. My name's Joe Abeln, Global Strategic Account Manager with Alstef Group. For those that have been in the industry for some time, we started out as AccuSort Systems back in the 70s. So we are a systems integrator with 50 years of experience in the postal, parcel, and retail logistics automation space. So today we're going to be talking with an emphasis on shipping and receiving automation. Before we get started, I would like to ask you all a couple of questions to frame our conversation today. What are you trying to accomplish in your business? What might it look like in 3 to 5 years from now? What does automation, or what role does automation play in your business over that time? These are extremely important questions, whether we're talking about shipping or receiving, or any other exhibitor that you go to see during your time at this show. Make sure you keep that in mind. There's many things that you can do to say, oh, I want to use automation just because it's the next right thing to do. You must make sure that it actually makes sense for your business. So, with that said, as we get started, we're going to start with setting some expectations on what this shipping automation really looks like, what to expect, what not to expect, and then also, from there we'll get into some bullet points of what you can bring back to your solutions providers that you can use when you're talking to them or your own team about implementing shipping automation in your facilities. All right. So how common is automation today? This has always been an interesting fact for me. Anyone have any idea, on a percentage basis, how many warehouses are automated versus not automated? 50%, 60%, 10%. So the general statistics from, this was from Logistics IQ in 2022, you only have about 5% of warehouses that are actually fully automated. Those are the folks that you know of, right? The big names in our industries. You have approximately 15% that are mechanized, and that basically means that it might be a piece of conveyor, might be some forklifts, right? Might be some other equipment that helps with the operation, but there's no real, logic behind that equipment. The remaining 80%, there's really no automation whatsoever. So again, no matter where you're at in your automation journey today, remember that there's still a long way to go here, right? We're just in the early innings, and there's a lot of time left to implement your automation. So expectations, right? A lot of people think that you implement something, and the moment you do, you set it and forget it, you never have to think about it again. Okay, this could not be further from the truth, right? You're not gonna have a guy who's sitting down, sleeping on the job while your robots and conveyors take care of everything, all right? If someone promises you that, please run away fast. You have to make sure that we have these expectations set properly. So what this means for you when you do implement automation, especially from, we'll get into the specifics of shipping, is that it's an enhancement of your warehouse workforce. Automation is not something that you set and forget, and I cannot emphasize this enough. You must have your employees, you must have everyone working together with the automation that enhances your operations from the ground up. So, for those of you who are here, you probably think you are ready for shipping automation or have at least considered it. So, I want to talk through a couple of the key pieces of what it means to say, yes, am I ready? No, am I not? So the first thing that always comes to mind when we're talking shipping automation is package volume, right? It's usually an easy metric to measure. It's something that we're talking either hourly or daily volume. There are many situations where you can get away with a much lower volume depending on what your products are and what you're doing with them. From our standpoint, the magic number might be 1,000 products a day. Again, it's very hard to say prescriptively, yes, this is the number. Once you hit that number, then you should start thinking automation. We have some customers that are, under that and getting great ROIs out of their shipping automated systems. So these are the kinds of questions that you want to be talking to your solutions provider about. Number 2, labor retention. If you're in here, you've probably had an issue with labor retention, right? Everybody in this convention hall has some kind of challenge with labor retention. There is, with shipping automation, same piece of the puzzle. There's always going to be people that are required to put things in a box, put labels on a box, get it out the door, get it on the truck. So what does it look like to automate some of that process to ease your labor challenges? Space constraints. This is a big one. Again, space is always a challenge for people. So what does it look like for your shipping areas? It's very easy to say, oh yeah, we just have a couple of tables that we're working on, that it's packing, we're closing our boxes up, we're putting the shipping labels on and getting them out the door. Okay, I want to automate it. Well, do you have the space for it? What does it look like to fill that space appropriately with your shipping automation solution? Is there enough space for conveyors? Is there enough space for a print and apply? Is there enough space for a case sealer? These are the things that you have to be thinking about when you go to implement your shipping automation solution. And the last two really go together. Ownership of a new system. Do you have your team in place that is willing and able to take ownership of an automated system, especially if you've never put one in before? I'm going to come back to this point a handful of times, so if you haven't written it down yet, you'll have a few more chances. You must own your new automated system. It comes down to maintenance, it comes down to who's providing that solution, and it comes down to when an issue occurs, who's going to take care of that, right? Unfortunately, these aren't perfect machines, and at the end of the day, you have to have people in place who are willing and able to make that, to make those maintenance adjustments or dial in something if it's not quite right, okay? So, from here, if you don't take that maintenance seriously, you're going to end up like this one on the side of the road. It doesn't matter who your solutions provider is, this is going to be you calling me on a Friday night, hey, why the heck does my conveyor system not work, right? That's the last thing you want to do. If you take care of your automation system, it will take care of you, I promise you that. One of the things that we have a couple of customers that take their maintenance extremely seriously, and others not so much. A great example, so we've been around again about 70 years. We have a customer today who has a sortation system with scanning, print and apply, the whole deal, that's been in their facility since 1998. And that same sortation system is running today. If you go into their facility right now, it looks like it was installed 2 years ago. They take care of that equipment, and it's continued to run for them basically flawlessly for the last 25 years. The exact opposite end of the spectrum, I was in a facility just a couple of months ago where they had a fully automated shipping system, fully automated, and they had 4 people standing at that line all day, every day, because it was dirty, the scales didn't work, the print and applies didn't work, the printers, the sortation systems, they were all messed up. And they basically just said, they threw in the towel and they're like, you know what, screw it, we're just going to have people at our automated system. Well, that was a waste of money. So again, remember, you must be willing to take care of this investment. And this goes really for any part of your automated system. I know we're talking shipping specifically today, but this ownership cannot be overstated. All right. So now we're going to start talking about the shipping process specifically. One thing before we get into this too deeply is I want everyone to think about the shipping operation like Lego blocks. Not every piece of that puzzle has to be implemented right away. Many of these you might have in place in some capacity already, which is great because we can use that to build off of, right? Like those Lego blocks. So additionally, we're focusing on essentially two aspects. It's hardware and software. So manual shipping, again, you all probably know what this is, right? Generally complete human interaction. You're going to have hand picking and packing, handheld scanners or scales, tabletop printers. It'll essentially be a station, a table that's 6 feet wide. It's got everything you need on it. And at the end of the day, you've got your person and perhaps multiple persons, in some cases 6 or more, 10 or more, depending on your volume, doing each of these things to make sure you get your product out the door. From a software perspective, you've got your label creation software. You've got your transaction tracking, which could be manual, could be automated, and then some type of WMS system that helps you process all of those transactions. The reason why we have this separated into hardware and software, again, keep this in mind when you're talking to any of your solutions providers, is hardware doesn't work without the software. It absolutely must be in place. And it's very easy to get caught up in your own expertise, so to speak. My training was as a mechanical engineer, and it's very easy for me to get caught up in the hardware piece of a solution and forgetting how important that software is. So remember that when you're going into your automated shipping. Again, it's hardware and software working together. So once we start implementing automated shipping, you now have conveyor and sortation systems for more material movement. You have inline scanners and cameras, label printer applicators, automated check weighers, right? So all of this stuff, again, think Lego blocks. You do not have to do them all at the same time. Again, we were talking about package volume. If your volume is on the lower end, well, maybe you just install the sortation system first, get that done. You can still do your manual DWS and all of that up front, and you're still getting your sortation system in place, and you can build on your automation as you improve your processes and increase your throughput. From the software side, you'll still have your label creation software. You will have your automated transactions, your WMS, and your WCS. WMS, warehouse management system, WCS, warehouse control system, and one of the other acronyms that you'll hear a lot more of is WES, a warehouse execution system. We'll talk about those in a little bit more detail coming up. Those could probably be their own talk. There is a lot of detail when it comes to those things. But again, the key with every piece of this is they all must work together. With a great solutions provider, you'll be able to put these Lego blocks in place as needed for your operation. So with that, we'll get into specific risks that we want to avoid before we get into the shipping automation, as well as the potential productivity gains that a shipping automation solution can promise for you. So we talked about this already, and I'm going to continue to emphasize it this entire talk. Employees must be willing to learn. If you don't have people in place at your facility right now today that are not willing to learn a new piece of technology, you might as well not implement automated systems. It's just going to give you more pain than you could possibly imagine. Maintenance is key. You don't necessarily need your own maintenance team. Any of the solutions providers that you go see in this convention hall will generally have some type of support infrastructure in place to assist with your maintenance. They can do support contracts, they can do preventative maintenance visits on your behalf. So again, you don't necessarily need your own maintenance staff, but maintenance is required no matter what. And then finally, your team must own the equipment and the software. Again, IT, operations, they must be working hand in hand throughout this process. Your solutions provider will have software engineers, they'll have mechanical engineers, they'll have electrical engineers. With each of those folks, you're going to have to coordinate with people on your own team to make sure that that communication is happening seamlessly. If it doesn't, you're going to be in for a world of hurt. Even today, there's occasional times where, something isn't communicated properly. Well, whose fault is that? Everybody's going to point their finger at somebody else. But at the end of the day, That's why we're talking about ownership. Your solutions provider should own the equipment that they put in. The end user, the customer, should also be owning their equipment. At the end of the day, when there's that level of ownership, your solution is going to work and you're going to be able to reap the benefits of that automated system. So from a productivity gain standpoint, most of these are fairly obvious, right? At the end of the day, these are the things that we want in our business, right? It goes back to the question I asked you at the beginning. What does your business look like in 3 to 5 years? Well, if you're at this show, you're probably looking for increased throughput. Everybody wants to get more product out the door and improve their bottom line. Improved employee and customer satisfaction. I put these both together because I think it's a very important distinction. When we're talking about a workforce that includes millennials like myself or Gen Zers coming up, technology is not a nice to have. Right? Everybody wants to be working with cool technology regardless of what their job is. Obviously, the buzzwords are AI this time, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be AI, but when you're talking about robotics and things like that in a warehouse, that gets people excited, especially young people. And when we're talking about labor retention, right, you're improving your employees' satisfaction on a day-to-day basis because they get to interact, upskill themselves, and work with cool technology that we're able to provide. At the same time, you have customer satisfaction. You're improving your accuracy, you're improving your tracking, you're improving your simplified customer experience all the way through to the end, whether it's internal or your direct-to-consumer application. And finally, there is considerable reduced waste and loss with an accurate automated system implementation. It comes down to things like savings in your packaging, savings in your material usage, savings in your accuracy, and savings in your in potential returns. Right? When you improve all of these things, and again, this is where that software and hardware integration occurs, you're reducing a lot of your waste and loss, which at the end of the day improves your bottom line. So now we'll start getting into the specifics of a solution. Again, we don't have a ton of time here, so I'm definitely not going to address every aspect or every potential solution that could be implemented from the picking all the way to getting that product out the door. But I want to make sure we address a few key items as we go along. Your shipping always starts with your picking process. There are many different ways to go about it, and there's many different levels. Generally, first step is you get an order, you go pick it. Okay? You get an order and you go pick it. Well, there's things that you can improve without necessarily including automation, something like wave picking, where now you're talking about picking your orders based on location in the warehouse, timing of those orders, clustering those orders together to make the picking process more efficient. At the end of the day, that's not necessarily automation, but it's an improvement of process. So that's another thing, especially for folks that might have a lower volume, that, hey, let's think about what process improvement looks like before we start talking about large investments of automation. You have wearable versus mobile computers, picking that's integrated with your WMS, and at the more advanced side, ASRS, which is automated storage and retrieval systems, and robotics to assist with the picking process. At the end of the day, the reason why I want to make sure we talk about picking is if you were to implement a shipping automation solution, which we'll talk about, your picking process has to meet the demand of your shipping automation. Or if it doesn't, a better way to say it is you're not getting the full promise of your shipping automated solution. So you want to ensure that your picking process is going to be as fast you want your shipping automation to be as fast or faster than your picking process. Again, one process affects another, so ensure that you're thinking about your solutions holistically. One other key area in the shipping automation that cannot be overlooked is your packaging. It's one of those things, it's the consumables, it's the things that you buy all the time, but they are extremely critical when it comes to implementing a reliable automated system. So there's things like boxes, tape, void fill, poly bags, labels, all of which are important to ensuring that your automated system works appropriately. So when I think of boxes, right, it's a great example. We had a customer recently where they were like, our shipping labels are not getting onto our boxes. Well, we got a video coming back and we're like, okay, what's going on with the equipment? That's always our initial assumption. And the video showed the box just simply collapsing in without any type of rigidity whatsoever for that label to get applied. Well, we made our adjustments. We didn't want to assume that it was our problem or not our problem right away. But after doing a proper analysis, having people on site, as soon as they adjusted that rigidity of the box, they were getting their shipping labels on no problem. Now, the key issue here is that this resulted in astronomical fees from FedEx for returns. Now, of course, that's the stuff that eats into your bottom line. So yes, it was a slight increase in cost in their boxes, but the elimination of those fees from FedEx, it was a no-brainer. And again, the automated system, it actually didn't require any adjustments. Everything worked properly. We simply needed to adjust the box that was being used. So that's just an example. There's plenty of others that, you could talk to folks around here. But the other piece that is extremely important to think about with packaging is your sustainability. It's one of those things that, yeah, we know sustainability is here, but it really is going to be an important factor for many businesses going forward. There's a lot of things like recyclable material. There is recyclable bags. There's cut to size boxes. There's linerless labels. A lot of different technologies from a packaging perspective that can improve your sustainability and ultimately save you cost in your automated solutions. Again, the point being, do not neglect your packaging. From a WMS and WCS or WES perspective, we want to make sure that you're thinking about, again, that all of these layers must play together appropriately. Your warehouse management system, something that you might have in place already, could be purchased from a third party, could be implemented from or homegrown, implemented by your own IT folks. At the end of the day, the important piece here is that you have a WCS or ES that is going to be the middleware between your equipment and the WMS that you have in place, okay? It's that execution layer. So you have your warehouse processes that are being managed, you have the product flow, and then you have your system integration that ensures that the equipment is getting all the right data that it needs to do its job and get the product out the door. Accurately and quickly, of course. So labels and barcodes. This is another one of those areas that it's very easy to overlook, right? We all see labels on our packages that we get from Amazon. It's got my name, it's got my address, and it's got my tracking number. Well, if that label or that barcode is damaged in any way, that product does not get into your house, I can guarantee you that. So when you have your own shipping automation solution, it's really critical to have accurate barcodes and labels and to make sure that everything is high quality. It's really the keystone to your successful automated system. So there's obviously LPNs, license plate numbers that you're going to have on your boxes, the shipping labels like I talked about, and tracking information that without that data, you're not going to have a full life cycle of that product from where it exits your door to where it gets to where it needs to go, whether it's direct to consumer or internal with your own facility. Again, this comes down to the material that you're using, the barcode itself, and then of course the scanning or camera technology that you have in place. So one of those things, again, it's very easy to overlook, but you would be shocked at how many times a system is broken because there's bad barcodes on the product itself. Let's see. So from a DWS standpoint, and I apologize, I say DWS, right? The acronym is dimension, weigh, and scan. So once you have that the initial barcode, and everything is picked and packaged together, you now have the chance to auto ID, weigh, verify, and scan that product, so that way you have everything integrated into your WMS. This is where we talk about something like cameras versus scanners, right? 1D codes versus 2D codes, things like that. Again, could probably be a full talk in and of itself, but at the minimum, I want to make sure that you guys have a couple of those bullet points, so when you go back to your solutions provider, you can talk about what does this actually look like? Am I going to use a scanner or a camera? What can I use to save me more money? What does my operation look like moving forward? From a verification standpoint, right, again, it's going to be very much so the same thing, but a key piece of this is your legal for trade designation. There are systems, both dimensioners and scales, that are registered by the National Institute of Technology and Standards for legal for trade specification, meaning that if you have to print out a shipping barcode or a shipping label based on the dimensions or the weight of that product, then even if it's in motion, right, the fully automated version of that scale or that camera or the dimensioner, you're going to be able to send that data back to UPS or FedEx and say, yes, this is an accurate dimension, we know it's certified, and that way you're paying the appropriate amount of shipping cost, not any more, and not getting charged back for if you don't pay enough. Again, this is extremely important. It's one of those things that is it's a huge cost savings when implemented appropriately. Oh, nice. There was the video. All right. And then finally, the printer applicators. Not finally, but printer applicators are one of the key pieces to your shipping automation, right? Because this is where we're actually applying that case label. I know we talked about having people on the line being able to maintain and be there to adjust the system when needed. Printer applicators are one of those necessary evils. You talk to many folks here, sorry if there's a printer applicator company in here right now, but they are hard to use sometimes, right? They are finicky. There's a lot of things that need to be done to make sure that they work properly. And at the end of the day, it's probably the thing that could stop your line more than anything else. It can run out of labels. It could get a jam, right? The printer might need some cleaning, whatever that looks like. Printer applicators are a key piece no matter what, no matter how much of a pain they can be. So, with that said, we can apply, of course, the shipping labels. It can be case LPNs. You can also do it on the pallet level if you're doing pallet labels. But at the end of the day, the printer applicator, again, another key piece to it, it must be integrated to your WMS. Generally speaking, you're not just going to buy a printer applicator by itself and implement it. You're going to need to have some type of integration between your system and it so that it's printing and applying the correct information. Of course, you'll have a camera to verify and make sure that everything is working appropriately, but it is critical to ensure that you have that integration between your printer applicator and your system. One question that comes up a lot with the printers themselves, oh, I need to apply it on the top of the box, the front of the box, the side. You know, there's requirements where I might need 2 labels per box if it's going into a palletizing situation. Any one of those, just know that many of these printer applicator manufacturers are extremely flexible. So again, even though they are a difficult system to work with at times, they are extremely flexible when it comes to their applications and what they can do. So again, regardless of what you're going to need, multiple labels on a box, top, side, doesn't matter, it will be able to get done. So after the print and apply will be some type of either final conveyor line or a sortation system to make sure that you're getting that product out the correct door. This is generally your last stop in the warehouse. Of course, there are sortation systems that are in between stops within a distribution center or a cross-docking facility. If it goes to inventory, of course, it can be sorted to inventory rather than outbound shipping. But at the end of the day, absolutely critical piece of technology that you implement for your outbound shipping. Again, it's the last stop in the warehouse, so there's a few things that you want to think about when you're talking about a sortation system. Again, very general, but volume. How many packages per hour or per day are you getting out of your facility? This will determine what type of technology you're going to use. In addition is your package sizes. Are you using just boxes? Are you using trays? Are you using poly bags or mailers or Jiffy packs? All of these are critical, so if you're talking to a solutions provider, make sure that you have as much information about your package details, so that way everything can be quoted, spec'd, appropriate to what you have as your product. Weight is obviously the other big one there, because if it's too heavy, right, there's going to be some additional technology that will be implemented to make that work properly. Another piece is your linear versus circular. A lot of customers that are much higher throughput might have a recirculation ability with their sortation system. So in that case, you have the ability, if it misses its sort, it can come back around, get scanned again, or if that chute is full, right? It gives the chute a chance to get released and leave enough space for that new product to come through. Otherwise, for the our lower volume folks out there, a linear sorter will generally be enough. You have a handful of lanes that you can sort to based on your carrier, based on your dock doors, based on routes that you might have if you're some type of cross-docking situation. But at the end of the day, that'll be all based on the labels that are applied to the product via the printer applicator or LPN, and then integrated, of course, with the WCS. So again, the key piece with all that is full integration of the equipment and your software solution. So finally, all that technology that we just spoke about can be used for a receiving application. So most people think shipping, right? Oh, let's get the product out of the building. Well, what happens when the product comes in? The technology is almost identical, right? You're still going to have your conveyor systems. You're still going to have your scanners and cameras and print and apply. There are things that can be supplemented to help with an automated receiving situation. We have a customer right now that they don't receive only from UPS and FedEx. They receive from every major carrier, and they receive from third-party shippers that have their own unique shipping label, and in some cases don't even have a barcode on it. So what do you do in that case? It's generally a hard problem. It's like, oh, we'll just handle it manually. We'll send it to someone with a computer, and they can type in what they need to, and we'll process it that way. Well, one of the amazing technologies out there is your auto ID with cameras supplemented by OCR, or optical character recognition. The engines are very impressive, and what you can do is you take an image of that label, and even if the barcode, let's say there is a barcode on it, the barcode is damaged, you can still take the character data and apply that through the WMS, still get the proper information that you need according to that product, and still handle it just like you would a standard with a good barcode. So this is one of those key areas that is extremely exciting. It's a very very cool technology and not that expensive. So it's one of those things that, again, if you have any type of receiving automation where it's inconsistent labels on the inbound, there is technology in place that can make that work for you. So as we wrap this up, in summary, there's a few, we always want to automate in steps, right? We talked about Lego blocks. There is, again, a lot that we talked about and a lot still to be talked about. But at the end of the day, you do not have to do everything all at once. You can do it one step at a time, whatever makes sense for your operation at the time. And any good solutions provider is going to be able to build out that solution one piece at a time for you. So again, remember, you can always automate in steps. do not neglect your shipping and receiving areas. The reason I mention this specifically at the end is there's a lot of companies, in fact, I spoke to one yesterday, that has an extremely advanced picking process, and their bottleneck is the shipping area. It is very easy to neglect this part of it because it's so simple and so familiar to have your people doing the picking or the packing and the taping and the applying a label, the hand scan, all of this. It feels familiar, it's easy. Oh, I just have 5 or 6 people doing that, or 10 people, or whatever that number is. Do not neglect it. When you're thinking in your automation journey, it can be a huge bottleneck that can be relieved in a very efficient manner in a small amount of space. Automated systems require new skills. Again, we talked about this a bunch, but I can't emphasize enough. When you have your younger workforce coming in and working in your warehouse, these new skills and working with technology is a huge benefit for you and your business. It helps with labor retention. People get excited to come to work. We've worked with companies that they've been doing it the same way for the last 20 years, and now they're starting to talk about, hey, what does it look like if we put a conveyor or a robot or print and apply or scanners in here? And I talk to the people who work on the floor, and they're excited. They know and in fact, they're not going to lose their job. They're just going to reallocate it to something that's more valuable to the business at the end of the day, right? As we talked about, labor is hard to come by right now. And when you implement a great technology, it gets people excited to come to work. Finally, your hardware and software must work together. This is where a great solutions provider can come in and do a great job in ensuring that you have all the resources in place to make sure that you have what you need for your automated system. And if after all of that, you're going to take away 3 things, this is what they should be. Work with partners you trust. Again, this is business, right? We're all in business to improve our customers' experience, improve our own employees' experience, and make money at the end of the day. There's plenty of great solutions providers out here. Go talk to them. Ask the questions that we talked about here. What does it look like for you and your business? What does it look like in 3 to 5 years? At the end of the day, create that trust with the people that you're working with, because when you do that, you're going to have a great experience with your automated systems. It doesn't happen the other way around. Take care of your equipment. Again, can't emphasize this enough. When you do decide to move to an automated system, take care of your equipment, and your equipment will take care of you. And finally, own your automation, right? Own your automation like you would own your own business. It's like an employee, but it never takes a sick day. It can save you more money than you can possibly imagine. That's what I have for you all today. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll be around for questions. If there's any that you all have, I can answer them now, but we have about 7 minutes, so. Otherwise, I'll be hanging out at the front. Be more than happy to come to talk to you guys. Thank you so much.